Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So, checking out a fun and exciting episode for you guys this evening as we're taking a look at the recently released, as of this week, translation of The Adventures of Little Ralph. This game was always in Japanese, and I would consider it one of those PlayStation 1 era hidden gems. And of course, it was easy to play because it was just a 2D side-scroller, but actually understanding what was going on in the game was impossible if you didn't read or speak Japanese. And for the most part, I assume most of my audience doesn't do that. So getting another translation on PlayStation 1, especially for a game this good, is absolutely outstanding. This is from Xander3312 as well as Taba or Taba, not sure how it's pronounced, and they both did the translation on this and did absolutely incredible work. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. If you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But this is the type of translation that I absolutely love because now we can understand what's going on in the game. And considering just recently we got an update to Princess Crown on Sega Saturn on the translation front as well, we really are eating well in 2025 when it comes to English translations, because again, the story in this game is charming, unique, and different, and actually being able to understand it 100% makes it that much better. And when I say this game is absolutely awesome just to play, I mean it. The Adventures of Little Ralph is a great 2D platformer. It was released in 1999 on PlayStation 1 when we really didn't get too many 2D platformers anymore. It is just an absolutely gorgeous game to look at in motion with a ton of parallax scrolling, some awesome sprites, as well as great gameplay and a fun level structure. It's just the type of game, if you've never played it before, I can't recommend it enough. If you don't like it, you get your money back, and considering these things are free, it really is a no-risk investment on my part. But I just love what The Adventures of Little Ralph does. It's one of those classic 2D side-scrolling action platformers in an era where we didn't get that many whatsoever, so it is a special game in that respect. And now, again, it's a game you can play in English, but I am curious. Leave me a comment down below and tell me, have you ever played this game before, and have you ever heard of it before? I feel like a lot of people are going to be discovering it for the first time from watching this video, or maybe they saw the news on the translation. And that's the other great thing about these translation projects. Not only does it allow people to enjoy the story in English, know what's going on, a lot of times it makes people actually learn about games like this. It just has such a vibe to it, almost feels like a Lost Capcom CPS2 game, just in some of the environments and how it looks, but obviously pure PlayStation 1 here. The platforming is great, the story is fun, the actual combat 100% holds up, and the game definitely can be challenging in spots in all of the right ways. And again, that's why I love projects like this that brings life and oxygen to a game that maybe not many people actually knew about. I do have a copy of this in my collection. I've played through from start to finish, but it's one of those things, I was always curious what was going on in the story, because at the beginning you saw adult Ralph get shrunk down into little Ralph, and I knew what had happened. I just didn't know why, and I didn't know any of the story, so of course I made one up in my head and kind of moved on. But now every single bit of English outside of the credits with the Japanese text for the Japanese names, it is in the game. So you can see here, it just looks incredible as well. All of the formatting, all of the text boxes are well aligned, and that's something you definitely want to look for in translations, because getting the English text into the space of the box that used to fit Japanese kanji can be a challenge. They've done an outstanding job here. So from beginning to end, you're just going to be able to enjoy The Adventures of Little Ralph exactly like it was intended to be, now with full English. And I just love how every single level leads into the next level, and now we're in the Department of Waterworks, and I had no idea that's where we were when I first played this game, because you don't really see much as far as waterworks are concerned. But I do love that the Department of Waterworks has all these traps built in, with ropes basically leading up to different areas. Not sure what's going on with the infrastructure of this city. It is quite strange, but it is kind of amusing as well. You'll see there I did take my first death. The game is challenging. You definitely want to make sure you kind of slow down and see what's going on in front of you, because waiting there would have been a better move than actually trying to jump forward, getting knocked back into that crusher. But that is the fun of a game like this. Kind of has a tiny bit of a visual vibe of Metal Slug, with a lot of other fun platformers out there as well. But when I say sometimes taking your time and going a little slower is going to be to your benefit, this is exactly where you can wait for those robots to march back forward, giving yourself more room to jump down. And I will say I absolutely love the soundtrack of The Adventures of Little Ralph as well. So go ahead and listen for 45 seconds. I'll come back and tell you more about the game, and more importantly, more about the translation. But enjoy! I mean, the soundtrack is just a straight up 10 out of 10 for me, and I absolutely love it. But moving back to the intro cut sequence here, I didn't finish showing it to you. I just love the fact that it is in English now, and I actually understand what's going on. And interestingly enough, it even has some similarities to Princess Crown just in the story structure and how the game actually starts. Of course, in Princess Crown, no one was shrunk down to a small boy, but it's one of those things I do see some similarities between the two, and that's not just because they both recently got English translations, but again, knowing what's going on in the story makes it that much more fun and hooks you into the game that much more. And I can't stress enough, this is how people discover new games. They see that something's been translated and they go ahead and play it and find maybe one of their favorite new games of all time. Because for everyone out there that will play a game in Japanese and just use a walkthrough or kind of try to imagine the story, I would say 7 out of 10 people in the comments do not play games until they are fully translated. But you leave me a comment down below and you tell me, will you play a game in Japanese and kind of try to poke your way through, or are you always waiting for that English translation? For me, I probably poke through games less now because I have less time in life to actually sit down and try to figure it out. So these translations definitely are awesome, but I would say 10-15 years ago I would play a game in Japanese just to experience it. Yakuza 3, before it actually was ever ported over to the West, I played that in full Japanese with a walkthrough next to me. It took absolutely forever, but I absolutely loved the game. That's how deep I would go into something like Yakuza. But even the boss battles and the adventures of Little Ralph, very fun, very inventive. I love that there's this crazy old woman dropping these giant steel balls down in the Department of Waterworks. I do not understand why that's there. The game never really explains it, but it is a ton of fun, and it really is just a charming and endearing game, and that's what I love so much. From the 2D aspect to the cute, colorful graphics to all of the weird enemies and the soundtrack, this game is definitely firing on all cylinders, and now in English you understand exactly what's going on. And I love that she basically got burned to a crisp there, and is still holding the 2 arcade joysticks she was using to try to crush Ralph under those gigantic steel balls. Don't know why it's going on, but I don't have to ask questions. I just get to appreciate and enjoy the game, and that's all I ever want. And the best part is that's exactly what the Adventures of Little Ralph is delivering, a straight up 10 out of 10 in my opinion experience from the moment you turn the game on to the moment you beat the game. And now again, you get to read it in English, and that's going to be a hell of a lot easier for other people. And I do love how weird this game gets as well. Now we have these green goblins crawling their way towards us, trying to kill Little Ralph. Not sure where those enemies came from. It is weird, and that is part of the other charm of this game. It does get a little bit weird, and it never really explains itself why you're collecting fruit, why you're killing these hopping kangaroos that only have a tail, or these green goblins running towards you. You'll never quite understand why they're there, but it is fun. And little enemies like that, the little snail with the pail on his head, you can't actually beat him, you can just knock him off the platform, and I'm never even quite sure why. But that is the fun thing about the Adventures of Little Ralph. The game has such personality and such charm, and definitely is on my hidden gem list as far as PlayStation 1 is concerned. Like this head right here spitting out those goblins, why is he there? Why is he doing it? We may never know, and that's just part of the fun of the game. But again, as we come up here and you see all that parallax in the background, the game is just absolutely stunning, and I can't recommend it enough. Playing on MiSTer FPGA, but you can play it on any platform you want. And as far as the soundtrack, one more soundtrack sample because I love the music in this game. I can't get enough. 35 seconds and I'll be right back with a touch more. And that's just some of the best music on PlayStation 1 in my opinion as far as the 2D platformer genre goes. I love it from start to finish, and I think you will too. And that is the best part about translations like this. Hopefully it's going to bring a much larger audience to the Adventures of Little Ralph, because it is a game that absolutely should be played by everyone at least once. And it is evidence that the PlayStation 2 could do some great 2D games, and how few of those games we actually got in North America. Because honestly, this game definitely existed in Japan, as did a lot of other 2D games we just never got here. And I hope to see a lot more fun on the translation front in 2025, because some of these games I've always wanted to play in English, like The Adventures of Little Ralph or Princess Crown, are now here, and that absolutely 100% just does it for me. It excites me. It should definitely excite you too, but I will leave a link in the description below for the patch for the game. Finding the game and dealing with that is going to be on your own, but honestly it is worth doing. And again, there's probably some sites out there that have the image pre-patched. It works on MiSTer FPGA, it'll work on real PlayStation 1 hardware, and it'll also work on DuckStation, of course. I tested it on MiSTer though, because that's my de facto PlayStation 1 platform these days. But whatever you do, don't skip this game. Trust me, it is absolutely worth your time, and it's got my seal of approval for whatever the hell that means. But we are done. I'm going to beat this boss, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.